Next, we're going to look at some different ways that we can think about revenues and costs, particularly about how these things change as our quantity changes, as we change the amount that we're going to produce of whatever good we're looking at. So first we'll define a couple of things for revenue. I guess the big thing that we need here is our average revenue. Average revenue is how much money on average we're bringing in per item that we sell. Now this we're going to treat really, really simply because we're going to assume that everything is just sold for the same price. Then every item that we sell brings in just the same amount of money. And so we can calculate our average revenue either as just saying, well, it's just equal to the price, or by saying it's equal to the total amount of money that we bring in divided by the number of things that we're selling, total revenue divided by quantity. You'll often see these things abbreviated, and so here are the abbreviations for revenue. Next, we'll have a look at costs. And so for this, we've got quite a few different definitions, particularly we're dividing things up into fixed and variable costs. So fixed costs are costs that don't change as our output changes. Variable costs, on the other hand, are those costs that do change as our output changes. Typically, we're going to have both of these. Most firms are going to have some sort of fixed cost component because they've got some items they can't change right now, and some variable cost component that consists of things that we do need more of as we're going to produce more output. We can calculate our average cost in just the same way that we did on the previous slide for average revenue by taking our total costs and dividing them by our quantity. Our total costs are made up of fixed and variable costs. There's a formula relating the first two. And then our average costs are total cost divided by quantity, but if we divided the left-hand side over here and the right-hand side by quantity, we'd get total cost divided by quantity as average cost. We'd get fixed cost divided by quantity as fixed cost per unit. That's what the book calls it. In other classes, you might see this as average fixed costs. And then variable cost divided by quantity, which again our textbook calls variable cost per unit, but you might see otherwise described as average variable cost. Our last and maybe most important definition for cost is the marginal cost. Marginal cost is how much extra cost we incur to produce an extra unit of output. And so this then is how much our total costs change as our quantity changes. Often we'll be looking at a delta Q, a change in quantity of 1, but not always. Sometimes our life will be trickier than that, and our quantity will be going up by more than 1 unit, by 2, 5, 10 units, something like that. As that happens then, the change in total cost needs to be split over several units that we might be producing, and so we get, in essence, an average marginal cost over those units that are produced. Our total change in total cost must always come only from a change in variable cost, because by definition our fixed costs don't change. So then an alternative formula for marginal cost is that it's equal to the change in variable cost divided by change in quantity.